The Galaxy Council chamber was silent. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in the massive hall, their eyes fixed on the glowing screen at the center. On the screen spun an image of a dying star, its light collapsing into darkness. Around it, a black cloud spread, eating everything it touched. Ships, planets, even moons. It was not a natural storm. It was alive. The voice of the council speaker trembled. We call it the Void Swarm. It destroys everything. It cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be stopped. If it is not contained, it will consume half the galaxy within 50 cycles. The words fell heavy, but no one answered. The delegates shifted. Uncomfortably, their alien forms showing fear. Some whispered in their languages, clicking, hissing, or growling. They all knew the truth. Whoever went near the swarm would not return. We require volunteers, the speaker said at last. A mission must be sent. One must carry a device to the swarm's heart. It is the only way to slow it down. Chamber filled with silence again. One by one, the races refused. The Zarniths, with their shining armor, shook their heads. The insectoid crawl hissed and clicked, retreating from the light. The serpent-like Othranians coiled tightly, their voices low and trembling. Each race had its excuses. Too dangerous. Too costly. Too hopeless. No ship will survive it, said a tall delegate covered in metallic scales. Why throw lives away? The speaker's voice cracked. If no one goes, the swarm will devour us all. But still, none accepted. And then, at the back of the chamber, a voice rose. Calm, human, we'll go. Every eye turned. A small group of humans sat quietly in the shadows of the hall. They were not the most powerful race. They were not the most advanced. Their ships were modest compared to the giants of the council. But when their captain, Elias Grant, spoke, his words carried a weight that filled the chamber. You don't understand, hissed the insectoid crawl. It is death. You cannot fight it. You cannot outrun it. Elias only shrugged. Maybe, but someone has to try. The council erupted in whispers. Some laughed bitterly. Others muttered in disbelief. Humanity had always been strange to them, reckless, stubborn, unpredictable. But no one expected this. The council speaker leaned forward, studying the humans carefully. Do you realize, Captain, that no one has ever returned from entering? The swarm, Elias's eyes were steady. Then we'll be the first. Yes. For a long moment, the chamber was quiet, and the speaker nodded slowly. Very well. Humanity accepts the mission. May the stars guide you. The decision was made. Outside, the council and the hangars, the human crew prepared. Their ship was not the largest, not the most beautiful, but it was built with care. Steel hull, patched in places from old battles, engines humming with stubborn life. It was a vessel that carried the spirit of its crew, imperfect but unyielding. Some aliens watched from the observation decks, whispering among themselves. Fools, muttered a scaled officer. They are already dead, hissed another. Why do they always run toward death? Growled a third, but not all looked with scorn. Few watched with quiet respect. There was something in the way the humans moved, in the way they faced the impossible without trembling. Inside the ship, Elias stood before his crew. Men and women, young and old, faces hardened by a life among stars. They all knew the truth. This mission was suicide. But not one had stepped back. You've heard the council? Elias said. No one else will go. No one else will even try. That leaves us. The crew stood silent, waiting. I won't lie to you, Elias continued. Chances are slim. We may not return. But if we don't do this, billions will die. Entire worlds will vanish. We are not just fighting for humanity, we're fighting for the galaxy. One by one, the crew nodded. There was no fear in their eyes now, only determination. In the hangar, the engines roared to life. The ship rose slowly, its shadow stretching long against the metal floor. The council delegates watched as it climbed, turning toward the dark skies, toward the place no one dared to go. The swarm waited out there, endless and hungry. a living storm that had swallowed fleets, broken armies, and erased worlds. To face it was madness. But as the human ship left the safety of the Council's star system, one thing became clear to everyone watching. Madness was exactly what humanity was made for. They were not the strongest. They were not the wisest. When the galaxy turned away in fear, humanity stepped forward, alone and somewhere. In the darkness, the swarm stirred. The void stretched endless outside the human ship. Stars glittered in the distance, but ahead was only blackness. It's not normal blackness, something darker. The swarm swallowed light itself, turning space into a living shadow. Inside the ship, the crew worked in silence. Every sensor flickered. Strange static crawled across the screens. The swarm's presence could already be felt, even from far away. "Engines holding steady," said Lieutenant Kara, her fingers tight on the controls. "But the closer we get, the more the readings break down." Elias stood behind her, staring. At the shifting screen, "Keep course. Don't look at the swarm. Just look at the path in front." No one spoke. The silence was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of machines. They all knew that beyond this stretch of space lay the point where no ship had ever returned. Far behind them, on the Council's homeworld, alien delegates gathered again. Some hoped for humanity's success, others waited only for their failure. "They are gone already," hissed the Crawl delegate, mandibles clicking. "The swarm eats metal, eats flesh, eats mind. They will not last." But an elder from the Othranians shook his serpentine head. "Do not speak too soon. Humans are unpredictable. They fight even when logic says surrender." The debate raged, but none could deny the truth. They were all watching the humans now. If the humans failed, nothing would stop the swarm. Back on the ship, Kara glanced at the captain. "Why us, Elias? Why did we say yes when no one else would?" Elias's gaze didn't move from the dark ahead. "'Cause someone had to." "That's not an answer," Kara whispered. He finally looked at her. His voice was quiet, steady. "We've always been like this. On Earth, we crossed oceans no one thought possible, climbed mountains no one needed to climb, went into space not because it was safe, but because it wasn't. It's who we are. We face the things everyone else runs from." The crew listened, and a strange calm spread through the ship. Fear was still there, but something stronger grew with resolve. Hours passed. The stars behind them dimmed, as though even light feared to follow. Ahead, the swarm pulsed, vast and endless. It was not still. It moved, shifted, almost breathing. Black tendrils of smoke-like matter stretched out like arms, curling, searching then. The first contact. The ship shuddered as one of the tendrils brushed its hull. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. Crew grabbed their stations, shields holding barely, shouted Kara. Another tendril struck, then another. Each impact felt alive, not like stone or fire, but like a hand pressing against. Them, testing, pushing. A voice filled the cabin. Not from the speakers, not from the radio, it's from inside their minds. "Turn back." The crew froze. They heard it together, a chorus inside their skulls. The swarm was speaking. "You cannot fight. You cannot win. Turn back." Kara's hands shook. "Captain, it's in my head." Elias clenched his fists. "Ignore it. It's fear talking." The ship trembled again. More tendrils lashed at the hull, scraping across the shields like claws. "You will not leave. You are food. You are dust." The crew pressed their hands against their temples, trying to block out the voice. It was cold, endless, and heavy, like being drowned in black water. Elias stepped forward, speaking aloud, as though the swarm could hear him. "We're not turning back." For a moment, the voices stopped. Then laughter echoed inside their skulls, low, twisted, endless laughter. The swarm had noticed them. The ship's lights dimmed. The power faltered. Thud. The crew worked fast, rerouting. Energy, shouting updates. Kara's voice cracked. "If this keeps up, we won't last an hour." Leah stared out the window at the vast dark sea ahead. He knew this was only the beginning. "Hold steady," he ordered. "We're not here to..." Survive. We're here to deliver the device. The crew fell silent, their fear now tied to a purpose. They were walking into hell itself. But they carried something the swarm had never faced before, weapon born of human desperation and human defiance. As the swarm closed in around them, shadows stretching long across their ship, one truth burned. In every human heart, they were not fighting for glory, they were not fighting for themselves. They were fighting for everyone who had refused, and for the first time, the swarm seemed curious. The ship pushed deeper into the swarm. Behind them, the stars had vanished. Ahead, there was only endless dark. No sensors worked now. The screens showed nothing but static. Even time felt strange inside the swarm. Minutes stretched like hours, and hours slipped away like seconds. The crew spoke less with each passing moment. The voices in their heads had grown stronger, whispering doubts, pressing fears into their minds. You are weak. Your bones will break. Your fire will fade. Kara clutched the controls, sweat dripping from her forehead. It's inside my thoughts again, Captain. Elias stood tall, refusing to show weakness. Let it talk. Wants us afraid. That means we're getting close to something it fears. The words gave the crew a spark of strength, but the pressure of the swarm was relentless. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently. Alarms screamed. A tendril of shadow had pierced through, their shields wrapping around the hull. Sparks rained down as metal groaned under the strain. Damage on the lower deck, shouted an engineer. We can't shake it. Elias slammed his fist on the console. All power to engines. Burned through it. The ship's thrusters roared, flaring brighter than ever before. The tendril writhed, hissing with a sound that wasn't sound, but thought. It released them with a shudder. The ship shot forward, deeper into the dark. But now they all knew this was no mindless storm. The swarm wasn't only alive, it was hunting them. Hours passed. The crew grew pale, their eyes heavy. Sleep was impossible. The voices wouldn't stop. They whispered names of loved ones, secrets the crew had never spoken aloud. Into their memories, trying to break them apart, Kara whispered, trembling. How does it know these things? How does it know us? Elias stared into the void beyond the glass. Because it's not just outside, it's inside. It feeds on thought, on fear, on life itself. Then the swarm showed them something. The blackness parted slightly, revealing shapes drifting in the void. Broken ships. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The crew gasped. Vessels of every design floated lifeless Arnith, battleships, crawl hive ships, Othranian serpentine cruisers. Whole fleets swallowed by the swarm. Some ships were half melted, their hulls dripping like wax. Others were torn open, their insides empty. By the stars, Kara whispered. They never stood a chance. But Elias's eyes narrowed. He wasn't looking at the broken ships. He was looking at the faint light deep within the swarm's center. It pulsed, slow and steady like a heart. That's where we're going, he said. The crew followed his gaze and shivered. The light was far away, yet it pulled at them, calling them closer as they advanced. The swarm grew more violent. Shadows slammed against the ship, testing, tearing. Panels burst. Fires sparked. The hull screamed under the strain. Shields at 20%, the engineer yelled. Hold steady, Elias barked. Then the voices in their heads changed. No longer whispers, now a roar. Stop. The ship froze mid-flight. Not its engine space itself had locked around them. The crew felt pressure on their bones, crushing weight. The swarm was holding them still. Everyone fell to their knees, screaming. Their minds filled with images, burning planets, broken. Bodies, endless hunger. Elias forced himself to stand. Clutching the console, his teeth clenched so hard, blood filled his mouth. We're not stopping, he growled. You are nothing, you will join them. The wrecked fleets around them stirred. Corpses floated from the shattered ships, pulled by unseen hands. But these were not corpses anymore. Their eyes glowed faintly with the swarm's black light. Their mouths opened in silent screams. Kara's voice cracked. Captain, they're moving. The dead turned toward the human ship. hundreds of them. Twisted, broken, but alive in some unnatural way. The swarm had given them new purpose. Soldiers of the void. Arm the weapons, Elias ordered coldly. The crew obeyed. Cannons roared. Explosions lit up the dark. Dead ships shattered, corpses burned. But more came, endless, crawling out of the wrecks, reaching for the living. Kara's hands shook as she fired. There's too many, we can't hold them off. Elias stared at the glowing heart in the distance, brighter now, throbbing like a living thing. He ignored the fear clawing at his skull, the voices tearing into his mind. We're not here to fight them all, he said. We're here to reach the heart. The crew followed his eyes. They understood. They reached that light, maybe the swarm could be stopped. Maybe billions of lives could be saved, or maybe they would vanish like all the others. Either way, there was no turning back now. The human ship roared forward, cutting through fire, corpses, and shadow, racing toward the impossible. And deep within, the swarm, the heart pulsed faster. It had noticed them. The swarm grew thicker around them. Shadows pressed against the ship like a living ocean. Every strike rattled the hull. Every pulse of the dark heart shook their bones. Inside, the crew was exhausted, eyes bloodshot, bodies trembling, but still at their posts. Fear never left them, but neither did resolve. Engines overheating, Kara warned, her voice hoarse. If we push harder, we risk tearing them apart. Elias stood behind her, his gaze fixed on the glowing heart in the distance. It was larger now, pulsing with sick light. Then we tear them apart, he said quietly. Better to break going. Forward, then rot, standing still. The crew did not argue. Suddenly, a new sound filled the cabin, metal scraping, sharp and close. Something was on the hull. Movement on the outer deck, shouted the engineer. They're boarding us. The swarm had sent its soldiers. From the shadows outside, shapes crawled onto the ship. Twisted forms of once living beings, half broken, half melted, but alive with the swarm's black fire. Claws tore into steel. Mouths gaped soundlessly. The lights flickered inside. Ow! The crew grabbed weapons. The ship's corridors filled with the echo of boots as humans spread out to defend their vessel. Kara looked at Elias, fear in her eyes. If they get inside... They won't, Elias said coldly, grabbing a rifle. The first breach came. With a shriek of tearing metal, a swarm creature burst through, its body bent and wrong, its eyes glowing with black light. Behind it, more followed, crawling like insects through the hole. The humans opened fire. Bullets tore through corpses, sparks lit the corridors, shadows fell and writhed. But for each one they killed, two more climbed inside. Hold the line, Elias roared. The fighting was brutal, always filled with smoke, screams, and the stench of burned flesh. The swarm soldiers fought without fear, without pain. One of the crew, young ensign, Marco, was dragged down by a corpse that wrapped its broken arms around him. He screamed as the black light crawled into his skin. Elias shot the creature, but it was too late. Marco's eyes turned black, his scream twisted into silence. Kara's voice broke. It's turning him. Elias didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and ended Marco before the swarm could fully claim him. The crew froze, horror on their faces, but Elias's voice cut through the chaos. Keep moving, or stop. We're already dead. The humans pushed forward, clearing the corridors, driving the swarm creatures back. Finally, with blood and fire, they forced the last of them out the breach. The engineer sealed the hull, his hands shaking, sweat dripping down his face. Silence fell. The corridors were littered with broken bodies, both alien and human. The crew stood panting, their weapons heavy, their eyes dark with grief. Kara's voice cracked. We can't keep this up. I'll keep coming until we're all gone. Elias lowered his rifle, his jaw tight. He knew she was right. The swarm wasn't just testing them anymore. It was trying to grind them down one by one. But then, through the forward window, the heart pulsed again, closer, brighter. It wasn't just light now. It was a shape, a massive sphere of living darkness, wrapped in tendrils of energy, like a beating organ the size of a moon. And around it, rivers of black fire flowed, carrying fragments of ships, bones, and dust. The crew fell silent at the sight. No one spoke. Kara whispered, That's it. The swarm's voice filled the ship, louder than ever before. You come to my heart. You come to my core. You are brave, but you will feed me like all the rest. The ship shuddered as if space itself was laughing. Elias leaned forward, his face hard, his voice steady. No, we didn't come this far to feed you. We came to end you. He turned to his crew. Get the device ready. The crew moved at once. Deep in the ship's hold, a black case was unlocked. Inside rested a weapon unlike any other, small, almost simple in appearance, but built with everything humanity had learned from centuries of war and desperation. It was not a bomb meant to burn or shatter. It was designed to tear thought apart, to collapse the strange energy the swarm lived on, a weapon for something not of flesh, but of mind. As the crew carried it to the launch bay, the swarm grew restless. The heart pulsed harder. Tendrils whipped violently, smashing against the ship. You think you can touch me? The voice roared inside their skulls. You think you are different? You will break, as they all broke. The crew staggered under the pressure of the voice, blood dripping from their noses, their ears ringing. Some dropped to their knees, clutching their heads, but Elias stood tall in the storm. His voice rose above the chaos, clear and defiant. We're not like the others. We're human. The ship drove forward, engines screaming, toward the swarm's living heart, and for the first time, the voice hesitated. The human ship shook as it entered the shadow of the swarm's heart. The light from the sphere pulsed like a giant heartbeat, each throb shaking the crew's bones. The closer they came, the heavier the air felt, as if the darkness itself pressed into their lungs. Inside the launch bay, the crew worked fast. The weapon was activated, its core glowing with faint blue light. It looked fragile compared to the monster outside, but every human in the room knew it was their last chance. Kara's hands shook as she armed the controls. Once we launch this, Captain, there's no coming back. Elias stared at the heart through the viewing screen. There was never any coming back. The swarm's voice filled the ship again, louder, sharper, digging straight into their skulls. Little sparks of flesh. You carry a toy. You think it will harm me? The crew groaned, clutching their heads. Some dropped tools as blood trickled from their noses. I have consumed empires. I have swallowed gods. Do you think your weak light will stop me? Kara shouted over the ringing in her ears. It knows what we're carrying. Elias gritted his teeth. Then it's afraid. The swarm responded with a roar that made the walls tremble. From the heart, tendrils of black fire lashed outward, striking the ship. Shields collapsed. The hull screamed. The crew was thrown to the floor. Shields are gone. The engineer shouted, "One more hit, and we're done." "Then we make this one count," Elias barked. "Launch the device." Kara slammed her hand on the console. The weapon fired from the bay, a glowing sphere streaking toward the heart. 4. A brief moment, hope filled the cabin. The crew held their breath as the weapon closed the distance. But then, the swarm moved. Tendrils wrapped around the device like fingers, crushing it in mid-space. The blue glow flickered and died. The crew gasped in horror. "No," Kara whispered. "It destroyed it." The swarm's laughter thundered inside their skulls. "Did you think I would not see? Did you think you could wound me so easily?" The humans stared in silence. Their one chance was gone. The swarm pressed closer. Its voice dark and heavy. "You are brave, but bravery is not enough. You will break here, like all the others. Your bones will scatter among the stars, and your minds will feed my hunger." The crew felt despair wash over them. Some dropped their weapons. Others buried their faces in their hands. For the first time, silence filled the human ship, not from courage, but from fear. But Elias did not move. He stood, staring at the heart, his jaw set. "No," he whispered. The crew looked up at him. His voice was steady, filled with the fire that had brought them this far. "You'd think that was our only weapon?" Elias said, his eyes locked on the heart. "That was just the one we let you see." Swarm paused. Elias turned to his crew. "Prepare the real device." Confusion spread among the humans. Even Kara blinked in shock. "Captain, there is no second device? That was all we had." Elias's face hardened. "No, we still have one left. Us." The crew froze. They understood what he meant. The ship itself, armed with its engines, its reactor, and their own lives, could become the weapon. "Captain." Kara's voice trembled.
"Ow."
"If we do this, there's no chance of survival." Elias looked at each of them. There never was. "But if we burn here, we make sure the swarm burns with us." The swarms. Voice hissed inside their heads. "You cannot. You are nothing. You are dust in my sea." Elias clenched his fists, blood dripping from his palms. "Then remember the taste of dust, because it's the only thing that will ever choke you." The crew, one by one, nodded. Fear still burned in their eyes, but something stronger replaced it: defiance. The engineer began overloading the reactor. Kara locked the ship on a direct collision course with the heart. Alarms blared as the vessel prepared to become a living spear. The swarm shrieked, its tendrils whipping wildly, smashing at the ship in desperation. "Stop. You dare." But the humans did not stop. Through fire, shadow, and broken steel, the ship roared forward, engines burning brighter than ever before. The crew braced themselves, knowing the end was seconds away. Kara whispered a final prayer. The engineer muttered the names of his children. Elias only stared at the pulsing heart, unblinking. Then, just before impact, the swarm's voice changed. It was no longer roaring. It was afraid. "Wait." The crew's eyes widened. The swarm's voice trembled for the first time. We know your kind. We remember. We tried to consume you once, long ago. But you are the fire that does not die." The ship kept charging forward. The crew's breaths came sharp and fast. Ilias's eyes burned. "You should have remembered sooner." The heart loomed before them, massive and alive, trembling under the light of their engines, and as the human ship prepared to strike, the swarm screamed not in rage, but in fear. The ship screamed forward, engines blazing, tearing through tendrils of shadow. The swarm's heart loomed larger and larger, its black surface rippling like liquid. The voices inside the crew's heads turned from anger to panic. "Stop. Turn back. You do not understand." The humans did not stop. The reactor burned beyond safety. The ship shook apart, panels flying, alarms blaring. The crew held their positions, teeth clenched, eyes burning with resolve. Impact in 30 seconds. Kara shouted, gripping the controls so hard her knuckles turned white. The swarm shrieked again. "Wait, I remember you." The others forgot. But I did not. "Humans, you cannot be consumed." Ilias's eyes narrowed. His voice was steady, cold. "Then you should have stayed away." The ship roared into the heart. For a moment, everything was white. A blinding flash swallowed the dark. The human vessel and the swarm's living sphere collided in an explosion of thought and matter. But instead of silence, something stranger happened. The crew did not feel death. They felt falling. The walls of the ship vanished. The floor beneath them melted away. Suddenly, they were standing in an endless black field, surrounded by towering shadows. A world inside the swarm. Kara gasped. "What? Where are we? Are we dead?" Elias steadied her. "No, we're inside it." The swarm rose around them, taking form a massive figure of darkness, shifting and twisting, eyes burning like black suns. Its voice shook the field. "You should not be here. No flesh has ever entered my core and remained." Elias glared up at it. "Get used to it. We're not like the others." The swarm shifted, almost recoiling. Its shadows trembled, uncertain. "I tried to devour your kind long ago, when your species was still young, still weak, but you did not break. You hurt me." The crew froze. Kara's eyes widened. It's faced humans before. Elias stepped closer to the shadow. "Us! That's why you fear us. That's why you tried to crush us before we reached your heart." The swarm's voice cracked. With something the crew had never thought possible, Hesitation. You are wrong. I do not fear. I am eternal. I have taken empires. I have silenced gods. I are afraid right now, Elias cut in. His voice was sharp, steady. We can hear it in you. The swarm roared, shadows lashing like storms across the black field. But even as it raged, the crew felt something new in the air. Uncertainty. Kara whispered, Captain, maybe we can do more than just destroy it. Maybe we can end it. The engineer frowned. How? Our weapons are gone. The ship is gone. Ilias's eyes didn't leave the shadow. We don't need weapons. We are the weapon. The swarm froze. Not again. Elias stepped forward, his voice rising. Every time we've been told to bow, we've stood taller. Every time someone tried to erase us, we burned hotter. You've seen it before. That's why you remember us. That's why you fear us. The crew felt it too now. The black field trembled under their feet. The shadows around them wavered. Their very presence was burning inside the swarm, not with fire, but with defiance. The swarm roared, just trying to drown them in voices. You are one ship. You are nothing. I am endless. But Elias shouted back, his voice cutting through the storm. One ship is all it takes. One human is all it takes. It's because we don't stop. We don't give up. You can consume 1,000 worlds and still will come for you. You will never be endless enough to outlast us. The crew shouted with him, their voices joining into one. They were pressed against the shadow, stronger than any weapon. The black field cracked. Light seeped through. The swarm screamed, its form unraveling, its shadows burning away. No, not again, not you. The humans stood together, holding the line, their defiance blazing like a firestorm. The heart of the swarm shook, collapsing under the weight of their will. And then silence. The shadows shattered. The black field split apart. The crew was thrown into blinding light. When the light faded, they were back on their ship, or what was left of it. The vessel was broken, drifting, its systems dead. But the swarm was gone. The endless black cloud had dissolved, scattered into starlight. Kara stared at the window in disbelief. We did it. The engineer collapsed into a chair, his voice shaking. The swarm, it's gone. Elias stood, blood dripping from his temple, his eyes locked on the empty stars. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He only whispered, barely loud enough for the crew to hear, No, it's not. Gone, it remembers. The wreck of the human ship drifted in silence. Systems were dead, power gone, metal cracked and torn. Yet somehow, the crew still lived. Kara opened her eyes, coughing. We're still breathing. The engineer checked the cracked display. Life support is barely holding, but it's enough. The stars outside were quiet. The swarm was gone. No shadows, no whispers, only the cold, endless void. For the first time in weeks, the galaxy was still. Elias pulled himself to his feet, his uniform stained with blood. He stared out the shattered viewport, his voice flat. It worked. Kara turned to him. We destroyed it, didn't we? But Elias didn't answer. His jaw tightened. His silence said everything. Far away, in the Galactic Council chambers, alarms went silent one by one. The swarm's expansion halted. Its dark clouds faded from star systems. Its claws retracted. The alien leaders watched their displays in shock. Worlds that had been moments from destruction were suddenly free. Entire fleets, hiding in fear, emerged from cover. The swarm is retreating. One delegate whispered. Another shook his head. It's dissolving. Confusion rippled through the chamber. No one had ever seen the swarm stop. For centuries, it had been an unstoppable tide. And yet now, it was gone. The truth hit them slowly. Only one possibility made sense. A single human ship had reached the swarm's heart. When the human vessel finally limped back to known space, it looked less like a ship and more like a corpse drifting through the dark. Its engines were dead, hull shredded, lights out. Rescue craft swarmed it, towing it toward the nearest station. Crowds gathered at every viewport, staring as the battered ship was pulled inside. Whispers spread like fire through the stations. Halls. They did it. The humans survived. The swarm is gone because of them. Inside the medical bay, Kara woke to bright lights and hushed voices. Alien doctors moved around her, checking her vitals. Her throat burned when she tried to speak. "Elias, where's the captain?" she asked. The doctor hesitated. "He survived, but he refuses treatment." Kara forced herself up, ignoring the pain. She staggered down the hall until she found him. Elias was sitting alone in a dark corner, staring out the window at the stars. His arm was bandaged, his face bruised, but his eyes were distant. Kara sat beside him. "Over. We made it." Elias didn't look at her. "No, it's not over." She frowned. "The swarm's gone. We saw it break apart." Finally, Elias turned to her. His voice was low, heavy. You heard it too, the way it spoke. It remembered us. Humans. Out of all the species it devoured, we were the only ones it couldn't consume. That's why it tried to destroy us first. That's why it panicked when we reached its core. Kara shivered. "You think it's still out there?" Elias looked back at the stars, his voice sharp as a blade. "It's not dead. It's waiting. And now, it knows we're still here." Weeks later, the Galactic Council summoned the crew. The chamber was filled with every major race species that had once sneered at humans, mocked them as reckless, unrefined, fragile. Now, none spoke. All eyes turned toward the battered crew that had done what no empire dared attempt, the Council. Leader rose. His voice trembled. Humanity. You alone entered the swarm's heart. You alone returned. The galaxy owes you its survival. The chamber echoed with silence. No applause. No celebration. It's only awe. Then another delegate spoke, his voice softer. "But if the swarm remembers you, if it fears you, then it will come again. Stronger, smarter." Murmurs spread. Fear gripped them once more. All except Elias. He stepped forward, his gaze unflinching. "Then we'll be ready." The council leader stared at him. "You speak as if this fight belongs only to you." Elias's voice hardened. "Exit. Does you all ran? You hid? You waited for someone else to fight? Humanity didn't. We faced it, and now it knows us.
Oh.
The next time it comes, it won't come for the galaxy. It will come for us." The words struck the chamber like a thunderclap. Some delegates lowered their heads in shame. Others exchanged uneasy glances. But none argued, because they all knew Elias was right. That night, alone with his crew, Elias told them the truth. This was never about saving the galaxy. It was about survival. Ours, humanity's. The swarm is out there, and it will return. When it does, the galaxy will look to us again. Kara clenched her fists, then let them look. "We'll fight it again," engineer, exhausted but resolute, nodded. "One ship was enough before. Next time we'll have a fleet." Elias stared into the endless night beyond the station. His voice was steady, unshaken. This was only the first round. The wreck of the human ship drifted in silence. Systems were dead, power gone, metal cracked and torn. Yet somehow, the crew still lived. Kara opened her eyes, coughing. "We're still breathing." The engineer checked the cracked display. Life support is barely holding, but it's enough. The stars outside were quiet. The swarm was gone. No shadows, no whispers, only the cold, endless void. The first time in weeks, the galaxy was still. Elias pulled himself to his feet. His uniform stained with blood, he stared out the shattered viewport, his voice flat. "It worked." Kara turned to him. "We destroyed it, didn't we?" But Elias didn't answer. His jaw tightened. His silence said everything far away in the Galactic Council chambers. Alarms went silent one by one. The swarm's expansion halted. Its dark clouds faded from star systems. Its claws retracted. The alien leaders watched their displays in shock. Worlds that had been moments from destruction were suddenly free. Entire fleets, hiding in fear, emerged from cover. The swarm is retreating. One delegate whispered, another shook his head. Not retreating. It's dissolving. Confusion rippled through the chamber. No one had ever seen the swarm stop. For centuries, it had been an unstoppable tide. And yet now it was gone. The truth hit them slowly. Only one possibility made sense. A single human ship had reached the swarm's heart. When the human vessel finally limped back to known space, it looked less like a ship and more like a corpse drifting through the dark. Its engines were dead, hull shredded, lights out. Rescue craft swarmed it, towing it toward the nearest station. Crowds gathered at every viewport, staring as the battered ship was pulled inside. Whispers spread like fire through the stations. Halls, they did it. The humans survived. The swarm is gone because of them. Inside the medical bay, Kara woke to bright lights and hushed voices. Alien doctors moved around her, checking her vitals. Her throat burned when she tried to speak. Elias? Where's the captain? She asked. The doctor hesitated. He survived, but he refuses treatment. Kara forced herself up, ignoring the pain. She staggered down the hall until she found him. Elias was sitting alone in a dark corner, staring out the window at the stars. His arm was bandaged, his face bruised, but his eyes were distant. Kara sat beside him. Over, we made it. Elias didn't look at her. No, it's not over. She frowned. The swarm's gone. We saw it break apart. Finally, Elias turned to her. His voice was low, heavy. You heard it too, the way it spoke. Remembered us. Humans. Out of all the species it devoured, we were the only ones it couldn't consume. That's why it tried to destroy us first. That's why it panicked when we reached its core. Kara shivered. You think it's still out there? Elias looked back at the stars, his voice sharp as a blade. It's not dead. It's waiting. And now, it knows we're still here. Weeks later, the Galactic Council summoned the crew. The chamber was filled with every major race species that had once sneered at humans, mocked them as reckless, unrefined, fragile now. None spoke. All eyes turned toward the battered crew that had done what no empire dared attempt, the Council. Leader rose. His voice trembled. Humanity, alone, entered the swarm's heart. You alone returned. The galaxy owes you its survival. The chamber echoed with silence. No applause, no celebration, only awe. Then another delegate spoke, his voice softer. But if the swarm remembers you, if it fears you, then it will come again, stronger, smarter. Fear gripped them once more, all except Elias. He stepped forward, his gaze unflinching. Then we'll be ready. The council leader stared at him. You speak as if this fight belongs only to you. Ilias's voice hardened. Because it does. You all ran. You hid. You waited for someone else to fight. Humanity didn't. We faced it, and now it knows us. The next time it comes, it won't come for the galaxy. No, it will come for us. The words struck the chamber like a thunderclap. Some delegates lowered their heads in shame. Others exchanged uneasy glances. But none argued, because they all knew Elias was right. That night, alone with his crew, Elias told them the truth. This was never about saving the galaxy. It was about survival. Ours, humanity's. The swarm is out there, and it will return. When it does, the galaxy will look to us again. Kara clenched her fists. Then let them look. We'll fight it again. The engineer, exhausted but resolute, nodded. One ship was enough before. Next time we'll have a fleet. Elias stared into the endless night beyond the station. His voice was steady, unshaken. This was only the first round.